Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Youth Industry Talks. Today, we have someone who I met a few weeks ago at my first in-person class since I've been professionally acting. It was a class with Katie Pullman. She's amazing. She came to Boston. So a bunch of us New England actors flocked to the class and it was amazing. His name is James DeFilippi. He is a 14-year-old professional SAG-AFTRA actor. He's been acting since he was about 6 years old. He's been in a bunch of movies and TV shows, indie films, short films, feature films, dramas on Netflix and Hulu. He is such a kind person. I'm so happy he agreed to sit down and talk with me. And here it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Youth Industry Talk. Today we have James. Here he is. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi, I'm James. You already said that, but I'm 14 and I'm based out of the New England area, and I work some New York too. I've been in various TV shows such as Mr. Robot, Castle Rock, and You. I also like working on independent films and student films. Those are a lot more fun. I've done around 15, maybe more. They're really great because you get to know everybody, you get to meet a lot of people. They're a lot more, they're like a little more relaxed than big sets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And recently I've gotten to work on like the other side of the camera. Like I got a broadcasting job, so I'm part of the broadcasting crew for my town and I film the varsity sports games. It's pretty fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's cool. So I guess my first question, I ask everybody this. It's kind of annoying because people always ask this when you say you're an actor. But what did make you want to become an actor, and what made you want to either switch or decide to do it like professionally as like a job?
It's the cliche question, but
Right.
when I was around 5, 6, I started filming stuff around the house on the family iPad, and I was making like stop motion videos with my Batman Legos. And then my mom found a camp at Boston Casting where you rotate being like the director, the actor, the cameraman. And I came out and I was like, Mom, I want to be an actor. She's just like, okay. And well, now we're here.
Wow, that's cool. I do a bunch of old, like very cringy, no one will ever see the light of day. But I would direct things like with my siblings, and I would be like the director, and I would also be like one of the characters. Horrible, like fake shows that I used to do, but yeah, definitely something a lot of little kids do going into the business is like very funny, cringy things that we used to do.
I did those, but it was after I started the career, and we've had them on YouTube, but like years later, me and my friend who we made them with like took them down.
Oh, no. No. Oh my God, I would love to see them. So, how long have you been acting in general? I think you said your age. I forget what you said.
Yeah, I'm 14 and I've been acting since I was 6. So what's that, like 8 years,
Yeah.
almost 9?
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while. I was able to join SAG when I was, I think, 12. So I've been in SAG for around 3 years.
What was the project or projects that made you SAG eligible?
It was the 3 TV shows I listed. I think I was on Castle Rock first, and then I did You.
Hmm.
And usually you would do SAG after 2, but I did them within like the same, I think, what was it, like couple week period.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't have to join. And then when I did Mr. Robot, it's what made me need to join.
Oh, okay. And when and how did you get your first agent slash manager, and has it changed, or have you like stayed with the same team of people?
Uh, I never got a manager, because I got an agent like almost right off the bat. Because at that camp that I mentioned earlier, there's like a bunch of kids who already had agents, and I was like, Mom, I want to get an agent, and she was like, um, sure. Like, so she took me to an open call for Model Club, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna take him, and they're probably gonna say no, and that'll be the end of it. Like, don't get me wrong, she's like my biggest supporter, but back then we
Yeah.
didn't know what we were doing. And they ended up signing me. And then a couple of years later, one of the agents that was there broke off and started AWA. And so I'm with AWA now. And also around that same time, I met an acting coach who was based out of New York, who said that I could probably get a New York agent. So she helped me get DDO in New York.
Oh, and how long have you been with DDO?
I want to say like 4, 5 years.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's wild. And this is something interesting. What do you think, like for people who don't already have representation, are some of the most like important things to do or like steps to take to get representation?
Like if you really need, I'd say try and get a manager because they'll help you get an agent. I didn't get a manager because again, I got an agent right off the bat who helped me with all of that. But I'd say try and get a manager to help you out with that.
Yeah. And also, I think it also helps because we're in like we got a local agent first, and then like moved up, progressing to like the bigger markets, which I think was helpful for me too because I'm also with AWA, and I've been with them for like two 3 years, something like that, and I loved it because yes, I had an agent who was mainly based in New York, in New England, sorry, and they would also do New York a little bit, but they helped me get some resume credits. So when I wanted to go and to get a New York agency, I like was presentable to them and I actually had credits like to back myself up with. A lot of people who try to like I think break out in the big markets first, it's just harder to do because you don't have that past experience from say a local or smaller agency. Yeah,
Yeah, those credits, they're really going to get you places. And also, it's hard because smaller agencies, they're great, but I feel like if the agency is like too big, then they're going to forget about you. So I have my agency in New York. It's not huge, but it's not small. So it's enough that they're not going to forget about me, but enough they have like the resources of a big agency.
right, right. Yeah, that was something I when I was looking for New York agents too, I was very like I was like, I want someone who like I can actually talk to, and I'm not just gonna get lost in the shuffle of like all the clients. And I'm glad that didn't happen because I'm someone who needs that communication with like people that are actively fighting to get me auditions. Which leads me to an audition question. So you used to do in person, right? Before the pandemic,
I
obviously.
did do a lot of in person. I do enjoy self tapes more just because, in person you get one shot, and if you mess up, you mess up. And when you do a self tape, you can do it as many times as you need.
Right. Do you have a certain way you go about doing self tapes, or do you do it like different depending on like what the project or genre or character is?
I mean, basically for memorization, I'll memorize it sort of flat because like I don't want to end up memorizing it like big, exaggerated, and excited when they want me to play it more toned down because then that's like a big switch I got to make and it's just going to take longer.
Right.
And then another memorization thing is memorize it and try and say it out loud while like jumping around or like flailing your arms around. So then like you have it memorized like under pressure too and under different circumstances than you're used to.
Oh, that's smart. I never thought of doing it that way. Oh,
Oh,
that's
I forget who gave me that advice, but I think it was a fellow actor.
oh, that's so smart. I have had to change the way I memorize things because I got in the habit of like memorizing a way to say it. And then when I would do like the self tape, like let's say I was like taping with a coach or someone who like else was an actor, it'd be the same every single time. And I had to slowly learn to be in the moment and like be natural, like not memorize a way to say it. So yeah, that's smart. I'm definitely going to use that. I never heard that before. um, and also training, you mentioned it a little bit. Do you do training for every audition or do you just do training in general to like keep your skills sharpened?
I'll do those classes with Katie where we met.
Yeah.
As basically I do almost all of her classes that she does throughout the year, so like maybe three or four. And I'll do one on one. I'll do like one on one with her for an audition if I can't really connect to the character or I'm having trouble making it seem natural.
Right.
But yeah, it's mostly just if I can't really connect to the character, I need some help there. And also improv classes because acting it's a lot of you got to listen to the other character, the your scene partner. Like if it's a scene where like your scene partner's like depressed, opening up, you don't want to be like exaggerated and happy. You got to listen to the other person there.
Right. Yeah. Acting is reacting and it's true. Like it's true. Like one time I think it was last week, I had an audition and it was a scene and I had like two lines and most of it was like the other character speaking. And I actually think I did it with Katie actually. I think I she coached me on it. And the point of that scene was to see my reaction to what the other like what was going on. Like it wasn't even like me talking, it was just my facial reactions to what was going on. And I was like, that's smart because a lot of people just try and memorize the lines and don't even listen to what your reader or other character is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I leave cue. We're not. I don't leave cues for myself, but I have cues for myself in the other characters' lines. Like I'll pick like one specific word that will remind me what I'm gonna say for the next line. So then I have to listen to their lines anyway.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, yeah, that's smart too. I remember when I was doing like plays and stuff, they would always like memorize the other person's line. I guess it's different though, because when you're on stage, if you mess up, that's a big deal. But on self tapes, it's not like as much of a huge deal. But oh yeah, that's a good idea too. Wow, look at you teaching me all these new tips that I'm gonna try. Um, oh, this is an exciting question. I love asking people this. What was your first on-set experience, no matter the scale, like just the first time you were ever considered to be on set, and how has it changed, or your like attitude towards being on set changed?
I think it was a Hasbro industrial shoot. They had us like run around like a little park, and they filmed us. And I remember feeling really important because I was like 6 or 7, and they were kept referring to me as like the talent, and they had like a PA holding an umbrella over me, and I thought I was like famous. It was pretty great. And then my mom took me to McDonald's on the way home, and I was 7, so I didn't understand this at the time. Um, I thought I was going to be recognized and mobbed in the McDonald's. I'm like, I don't want to go in. I'm gonna get mobbed. Meanwhile, it's like an industrial shoot, and only like the employees of Hasbro will ever see it.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
And I guess what I've learned and how my attitude's changed, you're not gonna get recognized. um, I think be humble. A you're not the biggest part. Really, the crew is equally as important, if not more important than you. So you're not you're not as big as you may feel.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember I had like a co-star role. If you don't know what a co-star role is, people watching, it's like tiny role, one line, two lines, or you're like with a group of people and you're singing or something. That was me. I was in Defending Jacob. I was just singing in like a choir. I auditioned for it and all this stuff. And I was so excited. And when I finally saw it, I'm in it for like, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. And I don't think my attitude was, oh, I'm gonna be famous, but I think my attitude was more like someone might recognize me. And then I watched it and I was like, nope, not gonna happen. When I think the other day, my teacher, I was talking, I don't know, naturally, I made a joke about it or something, and he was like, "Oh, you were in Defending Jacob? I just finished watching that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I was in like a tiny scene." He was like, "Oh, I don't remember seeing you," and I was like, "Yep, whatever. That's how it is."
I had someone who was rewatching a show, and they had watched it before they met me. I don't know them that well. They'd sit like next to me in social studies, and they go, "Oh my god, I just rewatched you. You were in it." I'm like, "Yep, I was in it." It's always funny when people will accidentally find you. It's great.
Did they not know you were like an actor? Don't you go to school with them? Like they didn't
I
know?
Some people do know, other people don't. It's like I don't. It's mostly people I'm close to and friends with now, and then they'll bring it up to other people.
Yeah.
It's like a virus; it spreads. So I think she had like a vague idea that I was an actor, but I don't think she fully understood what I was doing.
Yeah. I love asking people about like how their friends and like people in school perceive it, because my friends like don't care. They're like, okay, whatever, like great, like good job, Justin. Like they don't get like excited. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like they care, but it's not like nothing changes. Like if I book something huge tomorrow, they'd be like, oh, awesome. What are you doing in math class tomorrow? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, my friends, they're like that, but there's a lot more like joking, teasing, and stuff about it. Like I have one line where I said you can split my dick hole because we were like splitting the cards in a game, and my character got mad. So like I think every time one of them gets mad, they'll say that to me. So they think it's pretty cool.
That's funny though. But see, now they'll never forget it, and you'll
Yeah,
never forget that line ever. Wait, what show did you say that
that
was?
was in Mr. Robot.
Oh, okay.
And a cool experience I had on Mr. Robot was I got kidnapped in that show. Like a bunch of like what's the word? Like mercenaries ran in, and they like were like grabbing and shooting. It was fun, and like the stunt guy like came up to me like prior because I was like the main focus of that shot. he came up, he's like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. Like 3 people are gonna run through the door, and the 4th person is gonna run in. That's gonna be me. And he like taught me how he was gonna like put his arm around like my neck like this, and how to like not actually get choked and stuff.
Right.
It was really cool. And he's like showing me that the prop gun he had like wouldn't actually shoot, like even if he pulled the trigger. It was a really cool experience. I always love that.
That's cool. And that's really nice of him that he like, took the
Yeah.
time to like sit down and be like you're gonna be fine. Like I'm not gonna hurt
Yeah.
you. That's so cool. Like that was gonna be my next question. What are your feelings towards different levels of being on set? Because being on set for like an indie film where the crew is like 10 people and being on set of like you for Netflix is probably very, very different. So like how are your experiences with both aspects of that?
I really like the small sets because you get to like get to know the director. Like on a film I was like just in, it's in like some select theaters, and it's on Amazon and I think Hulu. It's called Last Night in Rozzie. And it has Jeremy Sisto in it. It has some pretty big people. And I got to really know the director. So like when I went to the premiere, I was like saying like, hey, and like hugging the director and the producer, because we all like, we knew each other.
Right.
It was great.
Yeah, that's cool. And like you said, on a bigger set, it's probably
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I
On a
mean, it
big,
might be like that, but not definitely not as it's different when you're a smaller crew and like it's like an intimate movie.
yeah. Like on Mr. Robot or you sort of get to know the actors, and you know their names, you know a little bit about them. You don't really get to know the crew as much though, which I always find great.
With auditions too, this is like a known fact getting into the industry. Most of the things you audition for, you're probably not gonna get. I forget, there was like some statistic out there somewhere. It was like some high percentage you can audition a million times and you only get like 2 jobs or 3 jobs or something. So since you've been doing this forever, how have you learned to deal with that like silence of rejection of like, no, sorry, you didn't get it, or oh no, sorry, I went to this person, or just hearing nothing at all? Because a lot of the times it's what it is, you just don't hear anything.
Basically, if you're doing like a first round, second round, don't expect to hear anything. I'll just kind of forget about it. And if I get called back, it's a nice surprise. What I do sort of have a hard time with is if I get to like a producer or a director callback. Like you remember, I told you about Jojo Rabbit, right? It
Yes.
was me, a couple other people. I met Taika Waititi on like a Zoom call, and then I didn't end up getting it. It was that other person. And it always hurts when the person they cast looks like very similar to you, because you know it was that they had better acting, not that it was they had a different look that they wanted. Um, but so I still can't even bring myself to watch that movie.
Oh, well, didn't you say that he got it not because he was a better actor? Didn't they say they wanted someone British?
Yeah, they also that, yeah. They
Okay.
had like the entire cast as British, which I think is a little weird, but you know, it's
Oh, okay.
what the director wanted.
Yeah, I have seen the movie. I now mind you, I did not know you before this. I would have had different attitudes going into it. Um, yeah, that's wow. I when you told me that, I was like, I yeah, I won't make you talk about it because that would be hard for me to talk about. So,
It's okay.
um, yeah, wow, man. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's crazy. I've had people like in similar situations like that where they're up against like one person, 2 people, and that hasn't happened to me before. But if and when it does, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, I think it's always a little weird when you're going to like a director's callback because you're sitting in a room with like a bunch of clones that look exactly like you, because they've already pinpointed the look that they want. And then you're just sitting in a room with a bunch of other 5'4" blonde haired boys. It's like, what?
When was that, by the way? Like that audition? I don't even remember when that movie came out.
Well, the movie came out what, like 2018, 19. So the audition was in like 2017.
Oh, okay. So it was a few years ago. I was just saying, like, I
Yeah.
feel like I remember seeing that movie. It was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a big question. So you can go like as deep as you want or whatever. What's the biggest thing or a few of the biggest like lessons or things you've learned so far working in the industry at such a young age?
Biggest lesson, I guess, like I said before, be humble. You're not really the biggest part. Again, like I said, the crew is just as, if not more important than you. You're really a small part in a big machine there. Like, you know about the whole thing about them, they were like going to go on strike because
Yes.
they had like horrible hours and horrible work conditions. I'm really glad that they came to a good agreement with that.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Um but yeah, you're not the biggest part, no matter how big your role is, no matter if you're a lead, if you're like an extra. you're not the biggest part. That's got to go to the crew there.
Yeah. How, I guess, how long did it take you to really like learn that? Did you learn that pretty quickly after the Hasbro thing, or did it take you a second to like go on a few more sets and be like, oh yeah, I'm not the biggest part of this production?
I'm not sure. It definitely took a couple times going there, because you always see in the news like big actor, big director. But again, once after you go to a couple sets, you realize how long the crew's there and like all the work that they're doing while you're here for what, like 4 or 5 hours, while the crew's there for like 10-hour shifts. They're there for a long time, like 16 hours sometimes.
Yeah. And another thing, like when you do work with or see other big people working like on set, you just realize like it's their job, like it's just normal, like they're everyday people. It's not like you said, like you see in the news, like, oh, this big actor's doing this, and like they put them on this huge pedestal, and yeah, they might be a great person, but like they're just a person, they're just doing their job. They just happen to have booked big jobs. They got lucky and they're talented. So my other thing, this is an overarching question, keeping in spirit with like me talking to young people all the time. What do you think that young people, our generation of people coming in the industry, have to offer the industry as we like grow up into it?
I guess really perspective. 'Cause- Oh,
Oh my God, that was so funny. I have to tell you something. I hung this up right before this, and I was like, if this falls during the interview, I'm gonna be so mad. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
no, it's fun. It's funny. Yeah. Anyway, I guess we bring perspective, because a lot of scripts nowadays are written by much older people that are sort of out of the loop of how kids and teenagers talk and act. Um, and really, I feel a mistake a lot of new and I guess experienced directors can still make is over directing young people, because I feel like of course, I'm going to take direction. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. But there's an example. I went to an audition, and the first person told me, just play it totally flat. I don't want like any emotion. And I'm like, okay, I guess. And he was telling that to everybody. And then when you went to the second one, which was literally later that day, was the director, he's like, why are you doing this with like no emotion? You should be doing this with emotion. And they were all trying to like over direct, which I think messed up everybody's like acting, which I think let people act how they see it first and then start directing.
Yeah. And a lot of the times, I think, like you said, especially like younger people, a lot of us aren't as experienced, obviously, as a lot of the other actors on set or people on set, which can be an advantage and disadvantage at the same time. I think a lot of the times they're trying to help us by over directing us, but it ends up just being confusing, and like let us kind of figure it out on our own. Yes, we don't have as much experience, but we'll figure it out. Like we'll bring fresh eyes to the table, which I think is important too, because having someone come in who isn't necessarily been on 10 feature films might be a good thing, because we haven't seen how everything works, and we can bring like fresh eyes and, like you said, fresh perspective to a project or a writing room or whatever it may be. And my last thing, any words of advice to young actors who are already working or people who are aspiring to become an actor?
Really, really work towards it, because even with Rejection, there's a rollout. Everybody's got to get some role. Like there's a good role for everybody there. So just keep going no matter how many rejections you get. And again, like I've been saying before, be humble. The crew is same level as you, if not more important.
I agree. That's awesome. And my very, very last thing, plugs to like opportunity to promote movies, TV shows, things coming out, things you're working on, anything like that.
Like I said, the indie film I was just in last night in Rozzie. It's in a couple select theaters, and it's on Amazon and Hulu. It has Jeremy Sisto, Neil Brown Jr. I've actually played Jeremy Sisto's son. Um, but yeah, it was pretty great. It was an indie film that it's hopefully is gonna get pretty big.
That it's already out, right?
Yes, it's already out. I just went to the premiere like a week or two ago.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll be watching that tonight. Okay. And I'll link it in your Instagram and all your stuff. in the
Okay.
description. I'll have all your stuff down there. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
So
Of
yeah,
course.
that was my talk with James. It was great to sit down with him and talk about what it was like for him to be so young in the industry, what he's learned, what he prefers, how it's like being on different kinds and different levels of being on a professional set. I'm so happy he offered yet again another wonderful view of the industry from such a young perspective. Everyone go check out his movies and TV shows and everything. I'm gonna link all of his IMDb and Instagrams and links and all of that in the description. So stay tuned.